Just 1 minute ago, Buckingham Palace released a definitive, bombshell confirmation that has sent shockwaves through the entire global media landscape. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have officially faced permanent exclusion from royal life, slamming the door shut on any future return to the monarchy forever. Behind the heavy iron gates of the palace, an emergency decree was signed, stripping away their final lingering institutional ties, official patronages, and ceremonial pathways in a cold, irreversible act of authority. Leaked reports from high-level aides reveal that Prince William pushed for this absolute boundary, declaring that the House of Windsor could no longer survive under constant public warfare and lingering uncertainty. Meanwhile, inside their California estate, Harry and Meghan were caught completely off guard as the official document arrived without warning, leaving their long-term strategy in absolute ruin. The sheer velocity of this move has sparked widespread panic among royal observers, raising immediate questions about what triggered such a brutal, sudden crackdown. But as the world struggles to comprehend the magnitude of this institutional expulsion, a hidden, far more explosive truth about a private confrontation at Windsor is about to emerge, and it changes everything we thought we knew. To truly understand how we reached this catastrophic point of absolute, irreversible exclusion, we have to look back at the years of escalating warfare, bitter betrayals, and deep-seated animosity that paved the way for this historic collapse. The road to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's total banishment from the House of Windsor wasn't built overnight. It was forged through an unrelenting series of high-profile clashes, explosive public accusations, and an unyielding battle for authority that fundamentally fractured the monarchy. The seeds of this royal disaster were planted back in early 2020, when Harry and Meghan dropped their initial Megxit bombshell, announcing to a stunned world that they were stepping back as senior working royals. At the time, the couple envisioned what they called a half-in, half-out arrangement, a compromise that would allow them to seek financial independence in California while still selectively representing the crown at grand ceremonial events, retaining their high-profile royal patronages, and leaning on the immense prestige of the British monarchy. However, the late Queen Elizabeth II, alongside then Prince Charles and Prince William, swiftly put an absolute foot down at the infamous Sandringham summit. The message from the palace hierarchy was brutally clear: you are either 100% in, or you are completely out. The institution of the monarchy simply could not permit its prestige, authority, and official standing to be commercialized or blended with private Hollywood deals. Reluctantly, Harry and Meghan packed their bags and relocated to Montecito, California. But what the palace hoped would be a quiet, dignified departure quickly erupted into a full-scale nuclear war. Instead of quietly carving out an independent life, the Sussexes launched an aggressive, multi-platform media offensive aimed directly at the heart of the royal establishment. It began with that explosive, tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey, where shockwaves reverberated across the globe over accusations of institutional neglect, media collusion, and deeply damaging personal claims regarding senior royals. What was meant to be a quiet exit transformed overnight into an open declaration of hostilities. Just when palace aides thought the drama might settle, the couple doubled down with their sensational 6-part Netflix docuseries, laying bare private family dynamics, exposing intimate behind-the-scenes footage, and directly challenging the traditional mechanisms of the royal household. But the absolute breaking point, the moment that permanently shattered any remaining personal trust between the brothers, came with the release of Prince Harry's controversial, tell-all memoir, Spare. In its pages, Harry spared no one. He took direct, unfiltered aim at his elder brother, Prince William, detailing fierce physical altercations, private text message exchanges involving Princess Catherine, and portraying the future king as an unyielding, hot-tempered enforcer of the monarchy's rigid rules. Harry publicly branded William as his arch-nemesis, exposing the raw, bitter reality of a sibling rivalry that had turned completely toxic. For Prince William, the publication of Spare was an unforgivable line crossed. It wasn't just a breach of family privacy. To the heir to the throne, it was a direct attack on his wife, his children, and the future of the crown itself. Insider sources reveal that William made a silent, unshakable vow in the aftermath of that book. Harry had proven he could never be trusted with private family matters ever again. Every phone call, every text, and every private conversation risked being weaponized for commercial gain or broadcasted to millions. Meanwhile, King Charles found himself trapped in an agonizing emotional limbo. As a monarch, Charles knew the institution demanded order, discipline, and strict boundaries to protect its public standing. But as a father, his heart remained painfully torn. For years, Charles privately harbored a fragile hope that time, distance, and maturity might eventually heal the rift. He quietly kept the channels of communication open, holding occasional brief, highly guarded private meetings with Harry in London. Charles desperately wanted to preserve a pathway where his younger son could remain a loved, accepted member of the family, even if he no longer carried out official duties on behalf of the state. However, this delicate balancing act created an immense, dangerous division within the highest levels of the palace. Prince William watched his father's hesitance with growing frustration and alarm. William firmly believed that any lingering ambiguity, any hint that the door remained half open, left the monarchy completely vulnerable to endless speculation, distraction, and potential blackmail. To William, the Sussexes were operating as a rogue, rival royal court in California, using their official titles to secure massive commercial deals while simultaneously tearing down the reputation of the institution that gave them those titles in the first place. The tension between the king's desire for fatherly reconciliation and the Prince of Wales's uncompromising stance on institutional security reached a boiling point behind closed doors. The palace was effectively split into two camps, those advocating for a quiet, permanent truce, and those demanding a definitive, public cutoff to safeguard the future reign of King William V. For years, Harry and Meghan appeared to gamble on the belief that the king's paternal affection would always protect them, leaving a backdoor open for a triumphant, conditional return on their own terms. But they completely underestimated Prince William's ruthless determination to protect the crown at all costs. The stage was set for a final, catastrophic collision, a massive explosion that was bound to happen, forcing the palace to make a terrifying choice that would alter the British monarchy forever. The critical turning point that triggered this unprecedented royal collapse occurred behind tightly guarded doors at Windsor Castle, away from the prying eyes of the global media, in a private sitting room where a high-stakes emergency meeting rapidly descended into complete chaos. What was originally intended as a confidential, highly sensitive family truce meeting quickly transformed into the ultimate battlefield that permanently shattered the House of Windsor. King Charles, still desperately trying to broker peace between his warring sons, had personally organized the quiet gathering, begging both William and Harry to meet without lawyers, publicists, or palace advisors present. The king's goal was simple: establish a workable blueprint for the family's future and find a way to stop the relentless public warfare. Harry had flown in secretly from California, landing under the cover of darkness to avoid media scrutiny. But he did not arrive with an olive branch, he arrived with a rigid list of non-negotiable demands. According to highly placed palace insiders, Harry placed a thick, leather-bound folder directly onto the table in front of his father and brother. The folder contained a formal draft agreement prepared by his legal team, a detailed proposal demanding complete, publicly recognized restoration of his and Meghan's ceremonial royal status. Harry insisted that while they would continue to live in California and pursue independent business ventures, they must be granted a permanent, guaranteed role at all major state occasions, full diplomatic immunity, and high-level royal security funded directly by the British taxpayer. To Harry, this was the bare minimum required to compensate for what he perceived as years of mistreatment, character assassination, and systemic neglect by the royal establishment. Prince William sat in dead silence as Harry laid out his demands, his expression growing colder with every word. When Harry finished speaking, William didn't just reject the proposal, he erupted. The heir to the throne stood up, slammed his hand onto the table, and accused his younger brother of attempting to blackmail the British monarchy. William made it fiercely clear that the crown was not a buffet where Harry could pick and choose the glamorous, high-profile perks of royal life while completely abandoning the grueling, day-to-day public duty that defined the institution. The future king directly confronted Harry over his hypocritical demands, reminding him of the vicious accusations aired in his memoir and Netflix series, asking how he could possibly demand official status from an institution he had repeatedly tried to destroy. The argument quickly spiraled out of control, escalating into a shouting match that echoed through the corridors of Windsor Castle. Charles desperately attempted to step between his two sons, raising his hands and pleading with them to stop, but the years of accumulated rage, jealousy, and deep-seated betrayal were simply too overwhelming to contain. Harry countered by accusing William of sabotaging Meghan's reputation from the very beginning, claiming that William and his team had leaked malicious stories to the British press to elevate Princess Catherine's public image at Meghan's expense. Harry delivered a chilling ultimatum: if King Charles and Prince William did not publicly sign the agreement and issue a formal, written apology to Meghan within 48 hours, he would authorize the release of an unedited, highly explosive vault of personal phone recordings and private text messages that would expose the royal family's deepest, darkest secrets to the world. That brutal ultimatum was the exact moment the room went deathly quiet, and then came the first massive, shocking twist that nobody saw coming. Instead of backing down or cowering under Harry's terrifying threat of exposure, Prince William did something completely unexpected. The Prince of Wales pulled out his own encrypted phone, tapped the screen, and placed a series of printed, highly classified intelligence reports directly on top of Harry's legal documents. William revealed that the palace's top security apparatus had been quietly monitoring several unauthorized digital transfers and suspicious media negotiations linked to the Sussex's inner circle over the past 6 months. The documents conclusively proved that Harry's team had already been actively pitching a second, even more damaging tell-all project to major American networks, meaning Harry's offer of a peaceful truce at Windsor was a complete sham from the start. He was using the threat of leaks as leverage while already actively preparing to sell out his family once again. Harry's face drained of all color as he realized he had been completely caught off guard. The trap had been sprung, not by Harry, but by William. The future king looked his younger brother dead in the eye and delivered a ruthless, ice-cold verdict. The negotiation was over, the bluff had failed, and there would be no second chances. A high-level text message leaked from a frantic royal aide present outside the room captured the sheer terror of that moment, reading simply, "It's over. William just closed the door forever. Harry is caught, and there is no coming back from this." Harry grabbed his folder, turned on his heel, and stormed out of Windsor Castle, leaving King Charles utterly heartbroken and Prince William standing victorious, ready to execute the most aggressive, final purge in the modern history of the British monarchy. The moment Harry's vehicle sped away from Windsor Castle into the night, the fallout escalated into an all-out institutional offensive. Prince William moved with chilling, military precision. Recognizing that a cornered Harry posed an immediate threat to the crown's stability, the heir to the throne bypassed standard diplomatic protocol and convened an emergency midnight session with the king, senior palace officials, and the Prime Minister's chief policy advisors. The mandate was clear: neutralize the threat before the alleged California recordings could ever see the light of day. By sunrise, the machinery of the monarchy was operating at maximum capacity, transforming a private family collapse into a formal state action. Across major digital platforms, the digital landscape began to fracture as leaked fragments of the Windsor confrontation surfaced in real time. Anonymous entertainment accounts and high-profile royal commentators ignited social media, claiming that an unprecedented palace purge was actively underway. A viral Twitter thread, supposedly sourced from a high-ranking Whitehall official, began trending globally under the hashtag royal banishment. The thread detailed how high-level government attorneys were reviewing the formal legal frameworks governing royal titles, succession lines, and state appointments, signaling that the palace was no longer merely issuing PR statements. They were preparing to legally dismantle the Sussex's remaining institutional standing. While the public argued over the authenticity of the leaks, a second, far more shocking revelation dropped from within the inner sanctum of Buckingham Palace, sending shockwaves through the global media. It was revealed that the intelligence dossier William produced during the Windsor confrontation did not just contain evidence of pitch decks for future tell-all projects. It contained definitive proof of a high-level corporate deal that directly compromised state security. The leaked reports exposed that members of the Sussex's strategy team had entered into confidential exploratory agreements with a foreign-backed streaming syndicate. The proposed contract stipulated that in exchange for unprecedented financial backing, the producers would gain exclusive access to private digital archives, including encrypted audio notes and personal correspondence recorded by Harry during his time as a senior working royal. The magnitude of this reveal completely inverted the narrative. This was no longer a petty squabble over ceremonial protocol or media coverage. It was framed within palace walls as a catastrophic breach of institutional integrity. The confidential documents proved that private conversations involving the late Queen Elizabeth II, state secrets, and high-level national security briefings attended by Harry were potentially packaged as entertainment commodities. When news of this second twist broke through high-level royal correspondence, the industry backlash was immediate and brutal. Top-tier Hollywood executives, crisis management publicists, and high-profile figures who had previously aligned themselves with the Sussexes rapidly began distancing themselves. A prominent American media mogul offhandedly remarked during a live broadcast, "There is a line between personal storytelling and institutional warfare. If these files contain what the palace claims, nobody in the industry will touch this material without facing massive legal liability." In Montecito, panic set in as the reality of the dossier materialized. Leaked text messages between high-level public relations strategists working with the Sussexes showed complete chaos unfolding behind closed doors. One urgent message read, "The palace didn't just block the proposal, they completely reversed the leverage. They have the hard evidence, and if they file an injunction, every single commercial contract is frozen instantly." The couple realized that their ultimate card, the threat of releasing undisclosed personal accounts, had been effectively rendered useless by William's preemptive strike. Back in London, King Charles, heavily weighed down by the evidence presented by state advisors, officially granted Prince William full authority to proceed with the final administrative directive. The king realized that preserving the monarchy meant allowing his eldest son to enforce an unyielding boundary. The draft order was drawn up, detailing the complete, formal severance of the Sussexes from all institutional ties, removing their names from official royal registries, and shutting down any remaining administrative channels between London and California. Yet, just as the palace prepared to issue the formal, irreversible decree to the global press, a frantic update emerged from the Sussexes camp. Reports began circulating that an unedited, 30-second audio teaser had been anonymously uploaded to an encrypted file-sharing platform, a raw, emotional recording allegedly capturing a senior royal making a devastating admission during a private phone call. The world watched with bated breath as the counter-countdown began, leaving the public suspended over an agonizing question: was this Harry's desperate last attempt to burn down the gates, or had the palace already ensured that this release would mark his ultimate, final downfall? Within seconds of the leaked news, the entire digital universe detonated into absolute, unadulterated chaos. Newsrooms across London, New York, and Los Angeles interrupted live broadcasts to cover the sudden, historic palace decree. Social media feeds were swallowed whole by an unprecedented firestorm, as millions of users, royalists, media commentators, and Hollywood elite rushed to take sides in what was immediately branded the most explosive institutional civil war in modern history. On X, formerly known as Twitter, the top 10 trending hashtags globally were instantly dominated by the fallout. Millions of frantic tweets under hashtag #PalacePurge, hashtag #RoyalExclusion, and hashtag Team Sussex generated millions of posts within hours, completely crashing key media tracking servers. Digital battle lines were drawn with absolute, vicious intensity. On one side, staunch royal traditionalists celebrated Prince William's iron-fisted maneuver as a long-overdue act of institutional preservation. Prominent British commentators took to primetime television, passionately arguing that the House of Windsor had finally excised a toxic, commercialized threat, declaring, "The crown cannot be held hostage by California media deals." Prince William has proven he possesses the ruthless strength required to protect the future of the British monarchy. On the opposite side of the digital war zone, Harry and Meghan's global fanbase unleashed a wave of furious outrage. Supporters accused Buckingham Palace of orchestrating a calculated, ice-cold character assassination designed to ruin the couple's independent reputation. Online activists flooded social media platforms with viral threads analyzing past public appearances, accusing the royal establishment of cruel, systemic banishment and declaring that the monarchy had fundamentally exposed its own fear of accountability. Meanwhile, inside the ultra-exclusive corridors of Hollywood, a seismic shift was occurring. Entertainment executives, talent agencies, and major streaming platforms were thrown into a state of total, frantic panic over the leaked security dossier. The revelation that the Sussex's commercial pitch decks involved recorded palace conversations sent shockwaves through high-level boardrooms. Major industry insiders began frantically auditing their existing contracts and future production slates to avoid being dragged into high-stakes international litigation with the British Crown. Fake leaked email chains from top-tier talent agencies began circulating among entertainment reporters, exposing the sheer panic behind closed doors. One high-ranking Hollywood producer allegedly wrote in an urgent memo, "If Buckingham Palace files a formal injunction based on national security or state privacy breaches, any project attached to those files becomes toxic. We need to freeze all active pitch development until we receive absolute legal clearance from London." High-profile celebrity figures who had previously publicly aligned themselves with the Sussexes suddenly scrubbed their social media accounts of support, terrified of destroying their own relationships with institutional power brokers. Across international media, global news networks hosted heated, emergency panel debates featuring legal experts, former diplomats, and palace insiders. Traditional news outlets ran towering front-page headlines displaying stark images of Prince William side-by-side with Prince Harry, declaring, "The final severance, brothers at war ends in permanent exclusion." Former royal correspondents appeared on live broadcasts, warning that while the palace may have won the tactical battle by shutting the door, the sheer fallout could forever stain the public perception of the royal family. As fan bases clashed online, industry titans backed away, and international broadcasts dissected every single word of the leaked reports, the public narrative splintered into complete madness. Was Prince William's decisive action a brilliant masterclass in protecting the state, or had the palace just backed a desperate, cornered prince into a nuclear retaliation? The entire world hung on the edge of its seat, waiting for the final, catastrophic shoe to drop, and nobody was prepared for the ultimate reveal that was about to shatter everything. Just as the global media storm reached a fever pitch, a final, catastrophic revelation broke that completely upended every assumption made by both the public and the palace. The anonymous audio teaser uploaded to the encrypted platform had not originated from Harry's California camp as a desperate retaliatory strike. In a terrifying plot twist that sent panic through the highest corridors of power, intelligence analysts traced the leak back to an undisclosed internal server within the royal household itself. The draft decree signed by King Charles had not just been a standard administrative order to sever institutional ties. Deep within its classified appendices was a covert clause that Prince William had insisted upon, a total, permanent freeze on all financial, trust, and property assets held in the United Kingdom connected to the Sussex name, effectively stripping them of any remaining leverage or inheritance rights. But someone inside the palace's inner sanctum, a high-ranking insider with access to the king's private communications, had deliberately leaked the raw audio recording to force the public's hand before the financial freeze could be executed legally. The voice on the encrypted audio was not Harry's, nor was it William's. It belonged to King Charles himself, recorded during a private, emotional phone conversation just hours before the Windsor meeting. In the recording, the monarch could be heard admitting in a choked, desperate voice that the institutional pressure to exile Harry was not coming from his own desire, but from a binding ultimatum delivered directly by senior state advisors and the Prince of Wales, who had threatened to step down from the line of succession if the Sussexes were ever allowed back into the royal fold. The release of this raw, unfiltered admission shattered the palace's carefully constructed narrative of unity. The revelation proved that the decision was not merely an administrative separation, but the result of a brutal, behind-the-scenes power struggle between the current king and the future sovereign. Within minutes of the audio being authenticated by independent cyberforensic teams, the narrative transformed from a story of Harry's exclusion into an unprecedented constitutional crisis. In Montecito, the mood shifted from defensive panic to calculated anticipation. Harry and Meghan issued no public statement, maintaining an agonizing silence that only heightened the global suspense. However, sources close to their legal team hinted that the leaked recording was merely the first fragment of a vast digital vault, one that contained full video logs and documented correspondence detailing every internal conflict dating back to 2020. Back in London, emergency lights burned late into the night at Buckingham Palace as legal teams, state officials, and royal security chiefs convened an unprecedented midnight session. Prince William was reported to have entered the palace grounds under armed escort, refusing to answer questions from waiting journalists. The monarchy was no longer just managing a family feud, it was facing an existential reckoning over who truly held power behind the crown. The door had been closed, but the house inside was actively burning. With the true source of the leak still operating undetected within palace walls and the threat of the full digital vault hanging over the House of Windsor, the world was left standing on the precipice of a scandal that promised to dwarf everything that came before it. The final battle for the future of the British monarchy had only just begun. This explosive revelation changes everything we thought we knew about the fight for the British monarchy. Was Prince William completely justified in drawing an uncompromising line to protect the future of the crown, or did the palace go too far by forcing King Charles into an impossible corner? Is Prince Harry a victim of cold institutional survival, or did his own high-stakes media gambit leave the royal family with no other choice? We want to hear your thoughts on this historic crisis. Drop a comment down below and tell us which side you stand on in this intense royal showdown, Team William or Team Sussex. If you found this breakdown shocking and insightful, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on all notification bells so you never miss a single minute of the action. The palace is scrambling behind closed doors, and we are tracking every new leak, legal maneuver, and hidden revelation as it unfolds in real time. Stay tuned, because our next episode drops very soon, and you won't want to miss the massive update coming your way.